You're invited to join in the discussion during the Conversations About Education series at Central Library. Upcoming programs will be on April 27th and May 10th. We'll talk about those in a moment with Carly Weidman, who's with the WFYI Public Media Community Engagement Department. And the library is pleased and proud to partner with WFYI on the Conversations About Education series. Carly, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the concept of conversations about education intended to what? Generate public discussion on important community issues, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So WFYI has been very proud to partner with the Public Library on the Conversations About Education series for about the past 3 or 4 years. And over that time, we've hosted over 30 different conversations on a variety of topics, really intended to dive into education topics that are facing our students and teachers every day, to have a public discussion around it, really deepen the understanding of our community about these really important education topics.
Are other public broadcasting entities throughout the country doing similar things, or is this unique to WFYI?
Yeah, I think some stations are. I think it's definitely a unique approach that our station has really embraced, that we're not only on television and radio and on the web, but we're also really wanting to engage with our community in an intentional way and really raise awareness of really important issues. And the Conversations About Education series is just one way that we're able to do that.
Okay, well, let's get into the upcoming programs, the first of which is on Wednesday, April 27th at 5:30 here at Central Library and free and open to the public. The topic is Stressed Brains Can't Learn. Tell us about this program.
Yes, so this is a conversation that we are partnering with the local Teach Plus organization, and we will be talking about ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences. So those experiences can affect a way that a child's able to learn in the classroom. And so we're really focusing on what's called trauma-informed care, where you look at a trauma that a child may have had and then work with them to cope with that trauma and help them to be able to learn more effectively in the classroom. So during that conversation, we will be screening a film entitled Paper Tigers, which looks at a school in Washington that has really transformed their discipline policies to work with these students who have these types of traumas to help to support them in their learning. And then we'll have a discussion with some local experts around these topics to talk about what we can be doing to support students in the classroom that have these types of experiences.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
That's program number one coming up in the spring.
Yes.
And then the next program will be on Tuesday, May 10th at 6 p.m. again here at Central Library. A topic that is very relevant here in Indiana,
Yes.
the future of standardized testing. Tell us about this.
Yes, so as you all may know, recently in the last legislative session, it was decided that ISTEP would be no longer. And so we're looking at what is the next version of standardized testing look like. So we will be partnering with Chalkbeat Indiana, the local Chalkbeat Bureau, who's an education reporting entity, and we will be discussing what's next. We've had ISTEP around for a long time. What is the next version of standardized testing looking? How do we anticipate those conversations going? So it should be a really interesting and yes, very relevant topic right now.
And again, the role for the public to play. What's the intended outcome for the public to offer recommendations and then perhaps throw these into the mix of possible solutions?
Yeah, so really these conversations are meant to be very open. They usually start with a panel discussion, but then we open it up for questions from the audience. And then there's also opportunities for audience members to talk with the local experts after the conversation. So really it's about just raising the awareness around these issues for our community, making sure that all of our community is informed around these issues. And if they so choose, they can talk to their legislators, talk to their policymakers, maybe give some input to the process of looking for that next standardized test, but really making sure that people are informed about what's happening around these topics like what's next after ISTEP.
Sure. Speaking with Carly Weidman of the WFYI Public Media Community Engagement Department. Carly, the topics that you come up with, are these generated locally or do you work with the national public broadcasting entity to come up with the topics themselves?
We definitely really try to focus locally. So we service all of central Indiana. And so we really work with community partners and are very intentional about talking with them about what's relevant, what are you working on, what are you working towards, what issues are you facing. And so I think these two upcoming conversations are a great example of some of the partnerships that we create to host these conversations, like with Teach Plus and with Chalkbeat, these were issues that were important to them,
right.
And they came to us and we said we would absolutely love to be able to help amplify the conversations around these issues. So very much focus locally, what's going on in our local schools, and to help to try to have conversations around those topics.
And the Conversations About Education series has been going on for what, about 4 years or so?
Yeah, 4 years now, yes.
And how have you gauged the impact of this series throughout the community?
Yeah, I think that there are very tangible impacts that we've seen, but also sort of not so tangible. But every conversation we have a lot of great experts in the room, that not only on the stage, but also that come to listen and be informed. So we know that that knowledge is being trickled out elsewhere. We've also seen some policy impacts from some of our conversations. We had one about immigrant students and English as second learners. And soon after that conversation, we had some legislators that were there. We saw that they actually passed and increased funding that was previously set to be decreased around those students. So that's one. We can't say we had a direct impact, but certainly hope that the conversations that we had around that helped to increase funding and add extra supports for those students who really need it in the classroom.
Now, will the series continue this year beyond May?
Yes, it will. So we have the two coming up in April and May, and then we're also looking at least one in September, so hope to have a couple more conversations continuing in the fall. Yet to be determined topics, so stay tuned.
And the key is that you were invited to participate in these conversations about education. Carly, thank you for joining us from WFYI Public Media. To learn more about the upcoming series, visit the library's website at indypl.org.